Sahar Nasr and the Minister of Parliamentary Affairs Levanti Megar in Hungary. The forum was attended by the Minister of Trade and Industry Amr Nassar, Minister of Business Sector Hisham Tawfiq, Minister of Transportation Kamil Al-Wazir, a number of Hungarian investors, and representatives of 26 Hungarian companies. Within the framework of the controlling role of the Ministry of Health, the ministry announced that it stopped the medicines containing ranitidine after reports from an international organization found some nitrosamine in them. The Ministry of Health decided to stop and test the medicines to ensure their safety. The ministry said that the precautionary measures taken are according to the agreed global standard level, adding that those are safety procedures applied by a number of countries such as Germany, Switzerland, Australia, Singapore, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and the United Arab Emirates. The ministry announced that there are a number of alternatives available. The ministry following up on the issue, and it will be updating the citizens with all the measures to be taken in this regard. The Arab coalition launched the military operation north of Hodeidah against the Houthi rebels' military targets in Yemen. A coalition spokesman said that the attacks had destroyed 4 sites used to assemble boats and sea mines to help protect the freedom of maritime navigation. A Hodeidah ceasefire and the troop redeployment agreement was reached last year at the peace talks in Sweden as a measure to pave the way for the talks, but it stopped for months before the Houthi rebels withdrew from 3 Red Sea ports. Russia and China vetoed the United Nations Security Council resolution backed by 12 of the 15 member states that called for a ceasefire in the Syrian province of Idlib. It was the Russian 13th veto of the United Nations resolution since the Syrian conflict erupted in 2011, highlighting the Security Council's impasse over the issue. Germany, Belgium, and Kuwait had led the push for the resolution, noting that 500,000 people have been displaced in Idlib since the government forces opened an offensive 4 months ago. Russia and China countered by presenting an alternative resolution, which was easily voted down. In Tunisia, the largest political party, the Islamic Al-Nahda, said that they will back the former law professor Qais Said in a presidential election runoff, potentially boosting his chances against his rival Nabil Qaroui. Said and the media mogul Qaroui won the most votes in Sunday's presidential election, beating a number of veteran politicians. Said took 18.4% of the votes and Qaroui 15.6%. Al-Nahda's Abdel Fattah Moro came third with 12.9%. The second round of voting is expected next month after some candidates in the election appealed the results. The American Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said that the U.S. wants a peaceful solution to the crisis sparked by the attacks on the Saudi oil facilities after Iran raised the prospect of an all-out war. Pompeo has blamed Iran for the assault on 2 facilities, condemning an act of war which knocked down the kingdom's oil facilities. Pompeo said that the U.S. was intent on finding a way out of the confrontation. Iran's Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif earlier warned that any U.S. or Saudi military strike on Iran could cause an all-out war. Israeli President Reuven Rivlin plans to begin the consultations with all the parties voted into parliament on Sunday to decide who to choose to try to form the government. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu acknowledged that he was unable to form a right-wing coalition as he hoped, and called on his chief rival Benny Gantz to join him in a unity government instead. Gantz responded by saying that he would have to be prime minister in any unity government since the blue and white was the biggest party. Israel's election committee said that the final results will be published on Wednesday, and there could be changes before then. The death toll in a Taliban truck bombing that destroyed the hospital in Afghanistan has risen to 39, with 140 wounded. For his part, President Ashraf Ghani promised measures to prevent the civilian casualties in the war against the terrorists, a day after at least 30 civilians were killed in the American drone strike in Nangarhar province. Ghani said he had introduced checks and balances to stop the night raids and the attacks, leading to the loss of innocent lives. He was speaking at an election rally in Jalalabad, the capital of Nangarhar province. Two shootings in Washington, D.C. left 2 people dead and 7 injured as the authorities hunted for a pair of suspects from one of the attacks, likely armed with an assault rifle. In the first attack, 1 man was killed and 5 people wounded in a drive-by shooting. About half an hour after the first incident, 3 people were shot in the same city, leaving 1 dead. Gun violence has been a regular feature of the American life, but a spate of recent mass shootings in Texas, Ohio, and the other states have renewed debate over the nation's gun laws and spurred calls for the action. Children across Asia and the Pacific kicked off what are said to be the biggest global climate protests in history, demanding adults act now to stop the environmental disaster in the future. The details in the upcoming report.
Hundreds of thousands of students, office workers and other protesters took to the streets around the world today to demand global leaders gathering for a UN climate summit took urgent action to avert an environmental catastrophe. It was expected to be the biggest protest ever against the threat posed to the planet by climate change. The global climate strike kicked off in the Pacific Islands, some of the nations most threatened by rising sea levels, and followed the rising sun through Australia, Japan, Southeast Asia, and into Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. Social media posts showed scores of demonstrations ranging from a few dozen primary school children in Abuja, Nigeria, to tens of thousands of people in cities from Hamburg in Germany to Melbourne, Australia. Protests are planned in about 150 countries to call on governments to take immediate action to limit the harmful effects of man-made climate change. Organizers said demonstrations would take different forms around the world, but all aim to promote awareness of climate change and demand political action to curb contributing factors.
In a quick move to implement a new program launched by the Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli to enhance the exports, Ministers of Finance and Industry signed a deal with the global company working in Egypt to pay it off overdue payments by the Exports Development Fund over nearly 5 years. After signing the deal, Minister of Finance Mohammed Mait said that the move is part of the government's initiative to settle arrears due for manufacturers and exporters, with the aim of encouraging investment and local production and increasing exports. He added that the program that will be reviewed yearly will not only provide financial support to the exporters, but also helps exporters through marketing, holding mega expo conferences, and providing shipping services in some countries. Ministry of Planning and Administrative Reform said that the development plan for 2019-2020 aims at increasing employment to 28.7 million people. That is a 23% higher than the previous year. A statement said, according to the Sustainable Development Plan, in the second year 2019-2020, the labor force is estimated to rise to 31.7 million people, growing by 2.6% from the previous year. It added that the rates point out to stable participation in the economic activity at 31.3 million people. Ministry of Petroleum said that the natural gas industry witnesses a positive development in Egypt through the last 2 years, with an increase in the production that reached the highest levels, as well as an expansion in using it domestically. This came during the activities of the General Assembly of the Egyptian Natural Gas Holding Company, EGAS. During the meeting, the ministry stressed implementing the state's directives in the upcoming phase to greatly benefit from the natural gas and the economically using it within the current strategy of the state. The Egyptian Football Federation said that the Egyptian Super Cup derby between Al Ahly and Al Zamalek will be played at 7 p.m. Cairo local time instead of 8 p.m. Cairo local time at Borg Al Arab Stadium, as it will be hosting the clash, which will witness the attendance of 5,000 spectators from each club. The EFA announced that the German referee Felix Brich will officiate the game and will be joined by the assistants Mark Borsch and Stefan Luop, adding that an Egyptian referee will be assigned to be the fourth official. The Red Devils won the Super Cup 10 times, while the White snatched the cup 3 times only. The Egyptian Football Association, the EFA, announced that Hossam El Badri will be the new national team manager. The EFA appointed the committee, which includes 5 members, to choose the next coach for the Egyptian national team, after the EFA sacked the Mexican manager Javier Aguirre. According to the statement of the EFA, El Badri is to form the technical staff and present it to the board of directors. The Egyptian Premier League matches will be starting the 61st season on Saturday. The EPL first round will include 9 matches to be played on 3 days. The first day matches show El Ghona against Al Ismaili, Pyramids against MP, and Tala'i Al Gaish will be clashing with the Arab contractors. Egypt national football team held the position at number 49 in the FIFA Global Football Rankings. The Pharaohs came 6th among the African countries in the FIFA rankings, behind Senegal, Tunisia, Nigeria, Algeria, and Morocco. It also came 4th among the Arab countries after Tunisia, Algeria, and Morocco. And this brings us to the end of Egypt News for today. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.